And that morning I got back home, probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I think about 10:30, between 10:30 and 11, I got a call from Fire Chief Tom Rosendich. And he told me that there was a shooting in Oak Creek. Didn't have a lot of details yet, but they were on their way.
I mean, even just that day itself, we're sort of talking about like on and off memories that you have. Some parts you recollect a little bit more than other parts, but I just remember the growing frustration of waiting to see what had happened to loved ones.
All right, 10:25 in the morning, I'm on the road. I have half the shift in the office, other half is on the road. Call comes in, possible fight at the Sikh temple. I'm about a mile and a half away and activate my lights and sirens. Get onto Howell Avenue, and about 30 seconds in, the call gets upgraded from a possible fight to possible shots fired. Realizing where everybody's coming from, I know I'm gonna be the first to arrive. Pull up, get within about 15 feet. Turn my lights and sirens off before I came in the parking lot. Jump out of the car, get my gun out, and as I walk forward, within a couple of steps, I realized that there's actually two people down. One is laying directly on top of the other. And at that point, I get on the radio, advise dispatch I need ambulances, that I have people down, and for the rest of my guys to come in behind me. In the distance, probably 45, 50 yards away is the front entrance to the temple. White man comes out and he runs south, so he's running away from me. He's running, I raise my gun, yell at him, police, stop. And I see his arm come up, and as soon as I see his arm start raising, I see he's got a gun in his hand, and we both shoot. My shot missed. His shot from 40 yards away running hits me right in the face. There's a car there. I go to the car. When I stepped in front of the car, I raised my gun up, and he's actually right here behind me. If I'm looking at 12, he's about 7 o'clock. And his next shot shoots the gun out of my hand and takes the top half of my thumb off. So there's a car there, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try and buy some time. And I go to the car, get underneath, and stick my vest out. And he shoots me in the vest. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing. There's no noise, he's not shooting. It's super quiet. So what had happened was when I went under the car, he continued to shoot, but he moved around to the front. So I roll out from under the car, and when I turn, that pause was him reloading the gun. So that's why we had this little false sense of security that maybe he left, and it wasn't. It was just him reloading. So when I roll out, he's just basically standing there. We're about, 8 feet apart, and he's just shooting. And it's just coming and coming and coming. I roll over and I go military style, just on my knees and elbows. And he continues to shoot, and then he shoots and it hits the top part of my vest up by the shoulder, and it actually squirts out sideways and goes into the back of my skull. And that felt like getting hit with a sledgehammer in the head. Knocked me flat. My ears start ringing. It's as white as you can imagine. It's blinding in my head. And it seemed like I was that way for, seconds. And eventually all the noise dissipates and I kind of get my vision back, and then I can hear the sound of a rifle.
The next arriving officer was Sam Lenda, who saw him, pulled back because he had to assess the situation, figured out what was happening, got out of the car, Page fired a shot that essentially shattered the windshield and went pretty much where the bullet went, pretty much where Sam had been sitting. He fired a shot, hit the Page in the side, knocked him down. Page crawled over, grabbed his handgun, took his own life, shot himself, took his own life.
So my father was Temple founder and president. That day he did his best to fight the shooter off, and basically, you know, he was one of the last people that was killed that day. And you know, I think that was his legacy, is that he was gonna sit in the place that he built and not move. He had the ability to leave, you know, where he died or passed away, there's an exit door, and the exit door is no more than 10 feet away. At any time, he could have just left. But he knew that his congregation, his flock, was in here. He knew that my mother was in here. He couldn't just leave. He couldn't just say, you know what, I'm just gonna exit and bolt out the door. So, and I think that's what it's about, is that sometimes when it gets hard, difficult, we have to sit in and we have to say, no, this enough. I'm not moving anymore.
There's about 6 other places of worship between those 2 places. He passed all those places of worship up, and he targeted a group probably based on not much information, other than that they looked differently and acted differently, prayed differently, and it was based clearly on a mistaken idea that these were people that should be feared. Now that I know the Sikh community and I know the Sikh faith, they're probably the most compassionate, gentle people that there are on this earth. So the ironic thing is, the people that he thought he was targeting to create a wider panic and have more people come to this ideology that he had of white supremacy, I think the opposite happened. He demonstrated that it was based on nothing but fear and the mistaken ideas about a religion that he never understood. Wade Michael Page was a bad person, but you know, his injecting himself into their lives doesn't change their lives, other than the fact that people were killed. They go on, they still celebrate their faith, they live productive lives, and their mission to serve the greater community continues. He didn't change that at all.